continue. Sorry. Okay. On the introduction chapter, okay. So we should address the limitation and the scope of the study. Okay. So the study should be focused on a very specific issue and could provide an answer within a certain limitation of times. Okay. So should be addressed in the decision or thesis. Recommendation will be suggested on the conclusion chapter. Okay. So uh, yeah, after you identify the limitation, okay. So then to cover the limitations issue, okay. So that's why we may we should have a subsection on the recommendations on the conclusion or on the chapter 5. Okay. Okay. So that is for the because once what we call it the examiner or the reader reads our thesis, so they know that that this is the limitations that not been covered in the study. Okay. Okay. Research background and benefits. Provide an overview for the research problems and benefits gained from this research. The research problem usually gain from the limitation of the previous work. Okay. So it is better if you can get what we call as a thesis, okay, rather than a journal. Okay. Because when you read the full thesis, okay, so you can understand what we call as the full methods. Okay. Because in thesis they need to explain um, as detailed as they could. Okay. So from there you can get the idea. Okay. Do we have this kind of equipment in UTM? Okay, or not? Okay. Or then we need to do some modifications, or we need to use a different approach, okay, in order to get the same value. Okay. And then when we refer to thesis, so on the recommendation part, okay, which is not been covered in the previous study, so we can try to uh, get an idea from the suggestion by the previous author. Okay, so this background and benefit should be highlighted in the introduction chapter or sections. Okay. So now we move on the research question and a hypothesis. Okay. A research question is a question that your research intends to address. Okay. While the hypothesis is a suggestion or propositions that your research intend to prove or dis, uh, dis, disprove. Okay. So a slightly different there. Okay. Where the question is a very general. Okay. Research question. Okay. So from that research question, okay, you you try to to come out with the answer, okay, by carry out for this study. Okay. And the hypothesis actually is a guess that you put. Okay. And then based on the fundamental knowledge or theory, then you may test it either it is agree or not agree with your finding. Okay. So the detailed explanation on the hypothesis is an assumption about relation between variable. Okay. So for example, normally when we carry out the testing, okay, so we may test under a different type of parameter, okay, which is we call as a variable or parameter. Okay. So hypothesis can be defined as a logical guesses relationship between two or more variables expressed in the form of a testable statement. Okay. relationships are conjectured on the basis of the network of association established in the theoretical framework formulated for the research study. Okay. So for example, okay, if we have two type of parameter, okay, normally one is independent and the another one usually dependent. Okay. So for example, for this one, okay, A we can consider is independent. Okay. For example, like times, okay, like deformations. Okay. A is increased when B is decreased. So B is independent. A is dependent. Okay. So A is increased when B is decreased. Okay. So that is the hypothesis. Or A is increased when B is increased. Okay. There will be another way. Okay. So and definitely that they should have a minimum two what we call as two variable or parameter. Okay. So characteristic of good research hypothesis. Okay. Research hypothesis should be clear, specific, precise, and focused. So that's why it should be rely on the on the theory itself. Okay. So it not just we create our own hypothesis without relying on the previous knowledge. Okay. Research hypothesis should be empirically testatable. Okay. So means that empirically is it based on the several set of data. Okay. Uh, so by the previous researcher. Okay. So we carry out this study is just to put inside the previous empirically data that's been gained. Okay. So research hypothesis never formulated in the form of a question. Okay. Research hypothesis should specify variable between which relationship to be established in research study or research project. Okay. So as I told you before, it is a variable. Okay. Research which should not conflict with any law of nature which is known to be true. Okay. So that is why hypothesis should rely on the theory. Okay. This hypothesis should be stated in the most possible simple terms to make it understandable by all concerned. Again, we have to be amenable to testing within a reasonable time span. Okay, so once we do the once we yeah at the early stage we come up with our own hypothesis, then later on we tested and then if if it's rejected, so we need to revise or amend the research hypothesis. Okay? So research hypothesis should not be contradictory. Okay. So that is a research hypothesis. Okay. Normally at the early stage, it's very important to think on what is the research hypothesis for the study. Okay. Okay. Now we move on the variable or parameter. Okay. So anything that can vary can be considered as variable. A variable is anything that can take on differing or varying value. Okay. So for example, age, production unit, okay, absenteeism, sex, motivation, income, height, weight, okay. The value can differ at various times for the same object or person or at the same time for different object or person. Okay. So that is a variable parameter. Okay. So a variable is characteristic that take on two or more value, whereas an attribute is a specific value on the variable qualitative. Okay. So this is a little bit differentiate between the variable and attributes. Okay. So for example, the variable sex and genders has two attributes. Okay, which is male and female. Okay, while for the social science study, okay, the variable of agreement has five attributes: strongly, agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly, disagree. Okay, so means that the attributes is a part of the variable. Okay, either it can have two at least or more than two. Okay. Okay. So this is more detailed explanations on the type of variable. Okay. So you can go through later on. Okay. So then when we discuss on the variable or on the parameter, okay, we may use this kind of approach where we call as a dimensional analysis. Okay. Because the idea to have to use this dimensional analysis, okay, is to identify what is the important parameter or variable, okay, and then we can focus on the most important variable or parameter, okay, and then we can reduce the number of the parameter that we want to look in our study, okay. So they call as a dimensional analysis, okay. So it's for reducing elements, okay, leads to a reduction on number of variable that must be studied, okay. So the key is to create dimensionally homogeneous equation whose form does not depend on the units or measurement. Okay, so that's the idea. At the end, we want to come up with uh with a dimensionless or dimensionally homogeneous equation, which is, doesn't have any units of measurement. Okay. So you may understand later on when I show some example. Okay. So governing equation cannot just be plucked from the air. They must be come from an underlying inside the phenomenon that is being modeled. Okay. Means that in order to use this dimensional analysis, okay, so we need to fully understand the problems, which is rely on the theory. Okay, the the theory of dimensional analysis is encapsulated in Buckingham theorems. Okay, Buckingham five theorems state that if there are n variable, okay, so let me use, okay, so this is n. Okay, means that the number of variable, including input and output. Okay. Okay. Later on, I will show you the example. Okay. And this variable contains m primary dimension. Okay. So we have n number of parameter. Okay. And for each parameter, we need to derive the primary dimension. Okay. For example, MLT or FLT. Okay. So I will explain later on. Okay. The equation relating all these variables will have n minus m dimensionless groups. Okay. For example, okay, if the number of the variable is 8, okay, and the primary dimensions, okay, the maximum we can get 3, the minimum we can get 2, okay. So let's say if the primary dimension is equal to 2, okay, so later on 8 minus 2 will become 6. So we need to derive 6-dimensionless equation. Okay. Okay. I will show several example later on. This is just a very brief introduction part. Okay. So Buckingham refer to this group as 5 groups. Okay. The group must be independent of each other and no one group should be formed by multiplying together power of other groups. Okay. But at the end, it depends. Okay. For example, if we have the last group to be developed, okay, and then we need to use the previous groups, okay, previous dimensionless equation, so it is allowed. Okay. Otherwise, we cannot complete the task. Okay. So this method offers the advantage of being more simple than the method of solving simultaneous equation for obtaining the value of the indice. Okay, so it means that this method is more simple compared to the other solving methods. Okay, so in this method of solving the equation, there are 2 conditions. Okay, so we need to follow the rules. Okay, each of the fundamental must appear in at least one of the m variable. Okay, so means that we should use all the parameter. Okay, okay. It's not it must not be possible to form a dimensionless groups from one of the variable within a recurring set. Okay, so means that we it's not allowed to to repeat. Okay, but if we cannot solve the task, so it is allowed to use. Okay, so fundamental quantity most commonly employed are based on Newton's second law, which state that the rate of change in the momentum of body is proportional to the applied force. Okay, so this gives, okay, so based on the Newton's second law, okay, in terms of how to get the primary dimension, okay, so we refer to the force equal to mass times acceleration, which is FMA. Okay. So based on the FMA, okay, so this is the primary dimension, which is the F, M, and then we have L and also T. Okay. So force, mass, length, and times T. Okay. So length is more related to a geometry, times is more related to kinematic, while force and mass is more related to dynamic. Okay. So since F and M it is categorized under dynamic, so we can have two equation or two group of primary dimension, which is F, L, T, and M, L, T. Okay. So normally, okay, in geotechnical, for example, geotechnical engineering, okay, so because we are using a lot of force, okay, kilonewton, for example, so it is better to use FLT compared to the MLT. Okay, so this is a detailed explanation. Okay, so LT is geometry and kinematic. FM is a dynamic. Okay, so we have 2 type of system there. Okay, MLT based on SI, FLT based on British. Okay, so for me, it is better to use FLT. Okay, if we are dealing a lot of force. Okay, compare using the MLT, because if you use the MLT, okay, we have the maximum of 3 primary dimension, okay, where we have T, okay, times, okay, when we deal with a kilonewton or force, okay. However, in this work, since mass is the fundamental physical quantity, the latter are employed in deriving the dimension value of the equation. Okay, so it depends. It depends. If you feel that you want to use FLT rather than MLT, so at least you reduce the number of the primary dimension, okay, and reduce the complexity of the problems. Okay. So selection of the relevant independent parameter can be quite difficult. The resolution of related problem requires sufficient experience. Okay. So for example, yeah, there will be no true or false. Okay. So let's say if A, okay, creating using this dynamic dimension analysis and create his own equation, and it will be different with B, okay, uh, creating another set of uh, equations, okay, and again it depends on the interest, the research interest, okay. For example, if the study is more is more investigated on the, for example, on the height of the material, okay, compared to the width of the material, okay, most probably the equation, the number of the uh, equation have a lot of height compared to the width uh, of the of the system. Okay, so for example, if another person is more interested on the width compared to the height, so most probably the equation that he derived have a lot of width measurement compared to the height. Okay, so it depends on the intention of the researcher. So dimensionality associated with Buckingham Phi theorem provide useful hint in determining the various factors that involved in the analysis and relevant data to be collected. Okay, so in based on my experience, okay, yeah, I'm using this approach, okay, and then I develop what we call as a practical design chart, okay, for the deep missing method, okay, because at that time I'm using uh, the numerical software, so I can easily run up to 2,000 simulation, okay, in order to produce the practical design chart, okay, for the study. Okay, then come up with the dimensionless design chart. Okay. Okay, and then yeah, publish a paper on that topic. Okay. So based on the approach of the Buckingham Phi theorems. Okay. So this is an example for the slope in cohesive soil. Okay. So an example, the factor safety of the slope is formed in purely cohesive soil. Okay. So we have here slope. Okay. So and then it is already mentioned a cohesive, so it doesn't have phi value. Okay. So the output of these problems is the factor safety. Okay, so we can derive, we can find here. Okay, and the output of the study, the input, this is the output. The input of the study is the height of the slope, h, the depth of the toe to the hard layer, d. Then we have the soil strength, cu. Then unit weight of the soil, which is gamma. And then we have a degree okay, which is the theta of the slope here as a theta. Okay, this is theta. Okay. So then we count how many what we call as parameter involved. Okay. And definitely it should rely on the theory. Okay. So then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, include the output vector safety 6. So the number of the parameter n is 6. Okay. So based on each parameter, okay, Fs, okay, Fs is considered as a dimensionless because it doesn't have any unit, because stress over stress is equal to dimensionless. Okay, so Fs we can consider as dimensionless. So then we use the sign of 1. H is the height and H is a geometry. So L is the sign for the H. Okay. Then we have a theta there. Theta doesn't have any units because it's only a degree. So we use the term of 1, the symbol of 1. Okay. While the Cu is the Andrean shear strength. Okay. So we use the kilonewton over meter square. Okay. So this kilonewton over meter square, okay, is considered as F times L power by -2. Okay. Then we have unit weight, okay, which is kilonewton per meter cubes. Okay. So then we have FL power by -3. Okay. The last one is the depth, which is under the kinemat under the geometry, so which is equal to L. Okay, so then we count how many primary dimension, okay, in all the parameter. Okay, so later on we only have 2, okay, the primary dimensions. Okay, so first is the L and the second is the F. Okay, do not count the repeat uh, primary dimensions. Okay, so as I told you, okay, the maximum can go to 3. Okay, the minimum can go to 2. Okay, so then we have the m equal to 2. Okay, so 6 minus with 2 will be equal as 4. So we need to derive 4 dimensionless equations. Okay, so to make it easy, okay, we use all the dimensionless equation. Okay, for example, Fs. Okay, so we have one equation. Theta, we have another 2 second equation. And then we need to derive for the third and the fourth. Okay, so let's say here we already use. Okay, then it will be easy to use the D and H. Okay, for example, for this case, perhaps the what we call it, the researcher is more concerned on the H. So that's why he used D over H. And the last one is Cu over gamma. However, if we use Cu over gamma, we cannot solve the problems because the remaining set is Cu and gamma. Okay, so in that case, either we use H or either we use D, okay, to have the complete set of the last dimensionless equation. Okay, So Cu over gamma, okay, in this case, the, the researcher has multiplied with H, okay, to complete the last dimensionless equation. Okay. So then we have 4 set of dimensionless equation. Okay. So what is the benefit of this equation? Okay. So Taylor, okay, Taylor has come up with this chart, okay, in order to gain the stability number. Okay, the stability number could be used to check for the stability of a slope which is less than 53 degree. Okay, so the degree is dimensionless, d over h is dimensionless, cu over gamma h is also dimensionless. Okay, so from there we can get the factor safety of the slope, okay, by just referring to this chart. Okay, let's say if we use what we call as a dimension axis, for example d here, okay, so the problem is when somebody want to use this chart, okay, by carry out for a different type of testing chamber with different size of the height and different size of the length or the width of the slope. So he could not use the normal dimension units approach. Okay. Yeah. For example, if somebody, okay, if you use your testing chamber, okay, and then you have here as a y and x axis, okay, and then you use the dimensionless approach, so you can use this design chart. Okay, let's say if somebody use a huge testing chamber or he look on the full scale uh, slope, okay, so perhaps uh, it will be much more easy, okay, if he can compare with this dimensionless approach chart compared to the dimension units chart. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, so this Taylor chart has been used by many practitioners to get the factor safety of the slope. Okay, we call as a preliminary because to start or to begin the analysis in a very short period, okay, or to get a early judgment. So we use this kind of chart, okay, for the factor safety. So in detail, we can use a numerical analysis or limit equilibrium approach or software to run the analysis to get the actual stability value. Okay. So that is for the slope. Okay, so I have only 4 example. Okay, for this is for the fault cone approach. Okay, so if you still remember when you want to carry out for the liquid limit test. Okay, so then you use the what we call as the fault cone methods. Okay, or you can measure the undrained shear strength. Okay, by using this fault cone method. Okay, so the outcome of this study is the D, the penetration depth. Okay, then you may use what we call as the 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 cone itself. Okay, the cone mass, then you multiply with the G, okay, then you get the width, okay. While the alpha is the cone angle, while the Cu is the shear strength of the soil, okay. So we have 4 important parameter there, okay. So then we derive the primary dimension from the variable, okay. So then we have 2, okay, the minimum number or the value of the primary dimension. 4 minus with 2, it will have 2, okay. So then the first one is to use the alpha, okay, and the rest is to use the remaining equations, okay. So then we have Cu times d square over W, okay. So looks like it's very simple, okay, and it have a very significant contribution, okay, where this approach has been used by Wood and Rowe from Oxford, and I also use this approach when I did my master project, okay, whereby I want to use this Falcon methods, okay, to determine the plastic limit of the soil, okay, because on the what we call as on the standard methods, we use the thread rolling methods or the Casagrande methods, okay. So then if you use this equation, so we can apply for the we can use the Falcon method to determine the plastic limit value, okay. So that is for the Falcon methods. Okay, then we have another one we call as a bearing capacity. Okay. So in the bearing capacity, okay, we have here Pu is the output. Okay. Okay. Pu is the load, ultimate load. Okay. Just to share, okay, if the letter is capital, okay, so normally it refer to a load or kilonewton. Okay. If a small letter, okay, so it refer to stress or kilonewton per meter square or KPE. Okay. So for this case, this is the load, ultimate load PU. Okay. So then we have a 7 parameter L, D, B, C, phi, gamma, PU. So the minimum or the value for the primary dimension is 2. So 7 minus with 2 become 5. Okay. So again, use or derive the dimensionless equation, which is the phi, and then use the simple one, L over B. Okay, so we already used L over B. Okay, so then we have D. Okay, so it depends. For this case, look like the author or the researcher want to emphasize more on B. Okay, so L over B, D over B. Okay, so then the remaining set is PU, CU, and gamma. Okay. So we should derive 2 more. Okay, so then CU over gamma B. Okay, so we have here CU, gamma, and the other one is PU. And then to solve it, it should be what we call it should be divide with gamma, BU square and L. Okay. So it depends. There are no true or false. Okay. But in the end, as long you solve the problems, okay, you derive all the equations, and all the parameter is based on the theory, so there will be no issue. Okay. So the last one is the vertical cuts. Okay, normally used in the slope engineering. Okay. So the outcome is the factor safety. Then we have alpha, gamma, Cu, and H. The total is 5. Okay, repeat the same process. Count for the primary dimensions is equal to 2. 5 times 2 equal 5 minus 2 it is 3. So then factor safety and alpha. Okay, the rest is Cu over gamma H. Okay, so that is the primary sorry mm, uh, the dimensionless equation for the vertical cut. Okay. So then, yeah, I have complete discuss on the dimensional analysis. Okay. Any question before we move to the hypothesis? No? Yes? Okay. Okay. No question, eh? So hopefully you okay. Hopefully you can use for your study, because you have a limited of time and then you want to narrow down, you want to focus on the important parameter. So you can use for your PhD if you are doing the parametric study. Okay. Then we move to the hypothesis. Okay. 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 This is a related detail. Okay, to explain on the hypothesis. Okay. So I guess you can read later on. Okay. Because the hypothesis is a predictive statement only. Okay. So this is they explain in detail. Okay. Okay. Problem versus hypothesis. Hypothesis is an assumption that can be tested and can be proved to be right or wrong. Okay. A problem is a broad question which is cannot be directly tested. A problem can be scientifically investigated after converting it into a form of hypothesis. Okay. So it means that the problem is very general. Okay. And then to to solve the problem, so we need to come up with a hypothesis and tested the hypothesis to solve, yeah, to get the answer for the problems. Okay. So characteristic of hypothesis, okay, as I told you before, okay, a good hypothesis, okay. So this is just a more additional explanation. Okay. So sources of hypothesis, okay. Definitely, first is I guess the best source is from your reading. Okay. So from there you can get a very good because it should rely on the theory. Okay. Okay. And the rest is based on your discussion, okay, observation, okay, personal experience, okay. Okay, this is just additional explanations on the type of the hypothesis. Okay, you can read later on. Okay, okay. Then we move to the relationship. okay, there will be non-directional, okay, directional, okay. So means that non-directional, there is a relationship, okay, between X and Y, okay, Y link with X link with Y, okay. So directional, okay, if X goes up, Y, okay, or as Y increase Y, okay. So in that case, we have independent and dependent variable, okay. So X and so for the non-directional, X and Y is close together, okay. While directional, it depends which one is independent and which one is dependent, okay. So directional hypothesis cause Y to change, okay, is X change, increase, decrease, then Y increase or decrease as a causal link. Okay. So perhaps it can be a positive, a negative, okay, and there is no relationship. Okay. So you need to know, especially when you want to explain on the relationship, you need to use the standard terms. Okay, gradually increase. Okay, you need to find the good or the correct terms to be used. Okay, okay. Is it a adjective? Adjective to use the good adjective. Okay. Non-disability, the weakest form. Okay, no correlation statement. Okay, there is relation between X and Y. Okay, so Y and X is a close together parameter. Okay. Okay, so this is example of the positive correlation. Okay, negative correlation. Okay. Okay, function or rule or hypothesis, it give a definite point to the investigation and provide direction to the study. Okay. It determines the data needs. Okay. It specifies the source of data. It suggests which type of research is likely to be more appropriate. It determines the most appropriate techniques of analysis. It contributes to the development of theory. Okay. So that is the role of hypothesis. Okay. Then we move to another subtopic on the major stage of work. Okay. So for conducting research, a researcher or investigator goes through four major stages of work: preparing research proposal, okay, organizing and conducting research, writing a research report, evaluating research. Okay, I will share with you what we call as a journal on how to prepare a research proposal, okay, in the e-learning. So you can have you can you can read the document, okay, and it may help you to prepare for your research proposal. Okay. So preparing research proposal. Okay. So there is the common question. Okay. We may use the why, what, how. Okay. So organizing and conducting research. Researcher conduct research following methodology of plan. Okay. So if you have some difficulty, so you can make some small deviations, okay, if necessary, okay, as long it is follow the standards. Okay. Writing research report which outline the finding of the study and its implications. Okay. Evaluating at the end, you may sit for your oral examinations or viva voce sessions. Okay. So don't be afraid. Okay. Once your supervisor has allowed you to submit, okay, almost 90%, okay, you may get your PhD. Okay. So the 10% is during your oral examinations. Okay, so you need to, yeah, because you are the one who are carry out the study, so you know more than the examine. Yeah, most probably you know more than the examiner. So you need to answer. You need to uh, give a good uh, feedback or answer during the sessions. Okay, it's more uh, looks like a discussions. Okay, capability requirement. Okay, capability requirement to undertake works, selecting and defining this is problem, describing methodology of research, collecting data, analyzing data, interpretation the result. Okay, carry out literature review related to problems, make thorough diagnosis to specify problem, research hypothesis, question or hypothesis. Okay, describing methodology, select appropriate research design, select subject on whom the study has to be conducted. Okay, okay, select or develop instrument, explain in a flow chart. Okay, so data collection. Okay, or what type of method that you want to use. Okay, okay, and how you display the result later on. Okay, analyzing data, interpretation of the result. Okay, you may use whatever tools. Now we have artificial neural network or artificial intelligence. So if we have more than 60 data set, which is which is cover the input and output, so you can use the ANN. If the statistical doesn't provide a very conclusive value or result. Okay, because ANN require a less data compared to the statistical method to make or to come up with a good conclusions. Okay. Okay. This is just for your own reading. Okay. I will not explain in detail. Uh, Problem in research not similar to science, uncontrollable variable, human tendency, time and money, lack of computerizations, okay, lack of scientific training in the methodology of research. Okay, when I did my PhD, yeah, I do agree with with this last statement. Okay, lack of scientific training in the methodology of research. Okay, so I have this difficulty. Okay, and then I do not have a very good research skill. Okay, so that's why at the early stage you need to develop your good research skill. Okay, so you need to know how to handle a multitask. You need to be a multitasking person. You need to know how to handle a multitask. Okay, during your PhD period. Okay, because during the office hour you need to carry out for the testing. Okay, then do the reading on the night, or it depends. Okay, if you can what we call uh wake early in the morning, so use that time to do the reading. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is the research process. Okay, define research problem, review concept and theory, review previous research finding. Okay, so it should be parallel. Okay, review concept and theory. Okay, so this is not related to the previous study. Okay, this is just a very general, but it is related to your reflect. It is related to your study, and then you need to review also the previous finding. Okay, then formulate hypothesis, or you can come up with the research background. Sorry, research gaps. Okay, design research including sample design. Okay, this is related to methodology, data collect, analyze, okay, and interpret and report. Okay, Okay, research problem. What is research problem? The term problem means a question or issue to be examined. Okay, the research problem refer to some difficulty need which a researcher experience in the context of either theoretical or practical situation and want to obtain a solution for the same. Okay, how do we know we have a research problem? Okay, this is just and actually it is based on our reading. Okay, relevant reading of the published material. Okay, so the rest is just an additional information that we can gain. Okay, because we are more related to a PhD level, so we need to rely on the scientific document or material. Okay. Okay, identification and selection of the problem, formulation of the problems. Okay, we discuss on the problem formulation on the afternoon. Sorry, on after 2. Okay, so we try to complete before 3. Okay, this step involve identification. Okay, this step involve a few problems and selection of out of of them after evaluating the alternative against certain selection criteria. Okay, source of problems. Okay, the first one is reading. Okay, then academic experience, while the rest is more on how we can do a discussion with the expert. Okay, internal, external. Okay, selection, criteria of selection. Okay. Formulation is the process of refining the research idea into research question and objective. Formulation means translating and transforming the selected research problem idea into a scientifically researchable question. It is concerned with specifying exactly what the research problem is. Problem definition of problem statement is a clear, precise, and succinct statement of the question or issue that is to be investigated with a goal of finding an answer or solutions. Okay. Okay, so this is just how we define the problems. Okay. Okay, okay, symptom detection, analyzing of situation, problem definition, statement of research objective. Okay, selecting problems, personal, practical. Okay, we are more interested on the critical study of literature. Okay, just skip this one. Okay, size, remember problem is often too large. Okay, at the early stage, you are very keen to do a lot of testing. Okay, you are you are very uh yeah, you want to solve, you want to, yeah, uh you are very ambitious, to solve all the problems. Okay, but during the during the second year and third year, okay, you just feel want to finish your PhD only. Okay, so you need to put in your mind that your PhD is not uh to solve all the problems in the world. Okay, it is a training process. Okay, to become a great researcher later on. Okay, so this is just a training process by doing it systematically. Okay, so you have a time frame. Okay, you need to know either you can complete it within the time frame. Okay, so that's why you need to identify. That's why I share with you the way how could we identify the important parameter by using the dimensional analysis. Okay, economy. Okay, it depends on the, for example, the money that or the allocation that you have for your study. Okay, It is fully funded, so you will not have a problems. Let's say if your supervisor have a grant, okay, so there will be no problems for you to run the testing. Okay. Uh, okay. What derives research? Mankind. Okay. Inquisitive nature. It's this just an additional notes only. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we cannot yeah, it's very difficult to become like Newton, Euler, Terzaghi. Okay, so yeah, as an engineer, perhaps we have intention to become a good a good inventor. For example, Stephenson, Brunel, Zeppelin. Okay, Alpine. Okay, now we have Elon Musk. Okay, so at least we should have some uh yeah to become a good in to become a good inventor. Okay, okay. Output. Okay, it's better for you if you aim can produce a good journal paper. Okay, based on my experience. Okay, as a external examiner. Okay, so I have experience examine a PhD student from Monash University. Okay. But it is yeah, this Monash University is located in Malaysia. Okay, not in Australia. Okay. So he has produced six impact factor journal. Okay, and then put in his thesis. Okay. So during the yeah, because Australia doesn't have oral examination, we just submit the report. So I cannot yeah, because the paper has been reviewed by the expert on that field. So and then it's already published. So I cannot say anything. I can only say that this this journey is very good. Okay. And uh yeah, could be award as a PhD title for the student. Okay. So if you can publish a lot of paper, so hopefully it can make your ease during your oral examinations. Okay. Okay. At the moment, I have one student. Okay. So she already published two impact factor journal, Q1, one Q1 and one Q2. So we still waiting for another journal, another Q1 journal. So hopefully she can publish three journal. Okay. During his before his oral examinations. Okay. During my PhD, my supervisor doesn't emphasize me to produce any journal. But after I complete my PhD, I have published nine, if I'm not mistaken, nine or 10 journal, which is majority published in impact factor journal. Okay. Okay. So this is application of research. Okay. I just skip this one. So you can read later on. Okay. We try to finish by 12:30. Okay. Future needs. Okay. Mm. So you are on your field. So you need to think what is the future needs. Means that yeah, along you yeah, you are doing your PhD and at the same time uh, yeah, you try to come up with your own product so there will be much more better. Okay. 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 Protection from accidental damage. Okay. Perhaps this will be a good research to be explored. Okay. Fire engineering, seismic robustness of the material. Okay. Due to this due to this natural disaster. Okay, green energy. Okay, for the geotechnical engineer can go for the geothermal. Okay, okay. So this is under the green technology. Okay, so we can make use of the solar energy. Okay. Yeah, for my early warning system, I'm using the solar energy. Okay, to generate the power to the system. Okay, wind energy. Okay, so this is just an example. Okay, but we doesn't have this kind of equipment or experts. Green technology. Okay, or you can use the waste material. Okay, at the moment, I have a research with MMC engineering. Okay, to use the waste product from the independent power plant, coal independent power plant, where the waste material is bottom ash. So we use this bottom ash to replace the sand material. Okay. So at the moment, we use this waste material to construct a roads. Okay. At at a bakau at a swampy area. Okay. So at the same time, in the perhaps 1 or 2 years more, we may use this bottom ash to as a reclaim area. Okay, for the port for the new Tanjung Pelepas port. Okay, PTP they call it Pelabuhan Tanjung Pelepas. Okay, so I involved in the first the road construction research, and hopefully they will need my opinion for the second reclamation work. Okay. Okay. So okay, this is a tire that now a lot of studies been used the shredded tire. Okay. Um, to recycle this waste material to be used. Okay. Either on the road or pavement constructions. Okay. Or as a dumper to prevent for uh, the effect from the earthquake, to minimize the effect from the earthquake. Okay. Okay, then we have here water security. Okay. Rainwater harvesting, groundwater as alternative alternative methods. Okay, seawater desalations, water reclamations. Okay. Okay. This is for the energy, future energy. I okay. This is I just get it from this source. Okay. Just to share. Okay. How could we look on this issue? Okay. Although it's not related to us, but perhaps we can take part later on. Okay. For example, on the waste material or whatever. Okay. Related to us. Okay. So that's all for the morning session. Okay, on the introduction. Okay, so we may continue on the problem formulations. Okay, uh, at 2. Okay, and I try to finish at 3 because I have another class at 3. Okay, I guess the postgraduate office did not notice that I have a class at 2 actually, but I just postponed to 3. Okay. Because normally we start on the Sunday, but yesterday is a public holiday. Okay, so that's why we start on the Monday. Okay. Any question? Any suggestion? Anyone to share something before we end?
I'm sorry, Prof.
Tina?
Yes, is the link is the same with for the next session?
Tomorrow, yeah, for these two PM class, same.
Oh, the
But
same.
for
Okay.
Dr. Isham, he will share the link later on. Okay?
Yeah. His link will be sent maybe in the group WhatsApp.
Okay. So
But
are we
how
okay,
about
Tina?
how about the attendance list, Prof? I still have a trouble to fill in.
Okay,
Can
Tina,
you give a number to contact him?
let me check with the SPS, the postgraduate office staff, eh?
Okay. So you will inform in the WhatsApp group, yeah?
Okay, if I get the answer before 2, so I will share.
Oh,
Or
okay.
if not, I will share later on. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Because maybe not only me, maybe there are
Yes.
several participants in here. Yeah.
Yes, correct, Tina. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, you are welcome. Okay. So see you at 2, eh? Okay.
Okay, Prof.
Bye-bye.
Inshallah.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Okay.
Thank you, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Good
Thank you,
afternoon,
Prof.
Prof.
Sharing.